a young boy heading towards a construction site. The boy, Quinn, descends through the elevator to meet with her mother, Karen. A worker informs the mother that they ran into a problem, to which, her mother leaves his son to attend to it. Peering into the void, a worker was confronted by Quinn. He takes advantage of the boy, asking him to venture inside the cavern, and hands him a torchlight. As he explores the cavern, a sense of excitement fills him, and he touches one of the walls. Suddenly, he was attacked by the dragon. The scared young boy runs for his dear life. Soon, he runs into his mother. A low rumbling noise catches one of the workers' attention. In an instant, the cavern erupts into flames. Karen, alerted by the fireball, rushes into the elevator and quickly activates it. Through the flames, a dragon makes its appearance, staring at the horror-stricken mother and son, before it launches itself towards the surface. Cowering in fear, Quinn checks on her mother, only to find out that she had died. Years later, the world is now in ruins as dragons now reigns over the world. Next we see that Quinn, who is now an adult, works in a mine in England. A man appears, and informs Quinn that Eddie has gone psycho. Quinn storms off, making his way outside to confront Eddie. Eddie's, with a few others, is planning to leave the community, taking with them the crops which are still unripe. Quinn forbids him from doing so, as his action would spell disaster for the whole community. Eddie believes that they would not last until the next season. Quinn confiscated his truck keys, and walks away. Elsewhere, a man approaches Eddie on his bed, and the two gather a few more men, before setting off the shelter. Eddie and his crew are making their way towards the plantation to harvest the crops. The men on the watchtower look through the telescope, only to see Eddie and his men plundering their harvests. He sends a distress signal to their shelter alerting Quinn. Eddie's crew, who are busy plundering the harvests, notices something at a distance, remain silent. They scurry to get help, before a dragon comes swooping down, at one of the crew, while setting the plantation ablaze with dragon fire. Eddie quickly gathers their crew and takes cover behind the vegetation. Soon, they realize that they are trapped by the flames. Through the flames, a man emerges in a suit of protection gear. Their knight in shining armor comes to their rescue. The dragon cuts them off, and unleashes a devastating inferno upon them. The vehicle in front of them gets engulfed in the hellish flames. Quinn, together with Eddie, and his crew hastily reverses, and drives off in the opposite direction. Back in the convent, we see Quinn and Creed strike up a conversation. Quinn sympathizes with Eddie for the loss of his son, which was feasted upon by the dragon earlier. Creed thinks he deserves it, but Quinn thinks that he may be right all along. The man on the watchtower sees two heavily armored vehicles approaching. An alert was relayed back to the base. Quinn quickly along Creedy assembles their men to prepare for the confrontation, despite the lack of resources. They hurriedly get into battle positions, just as the armor vehicles are arriving. They figure that it is the American marauders. As the tanks stop at the entrance of the shelter, a man appears from one of the tanks and demands to see the person in charge. The man steps down, and flares out his hand like a peacock to display his dominance. Quinn steadily walks through the front gate, and the man introduces himself as Van Zandt from Kentucky. Van Zandt states that he is part of the National Guard. He had suffered heavy losses and his army needs a place to recuperate. Quinn thinks it's BS and does not buy into his story. He refuses to let them in, but Van Zandt threatens him using a dragon tooth. He elaborates further on encounter with the dragon, which he took down, with the dragon tooth being the prize. After listening to his story, Quinn finally lets them in, but with a warning. Quinn and Creed catch up with Van Zandt, and they are introduced to the pilot, Alexandra Jensen from the U.S. Cavalry. Quinn inquires about the men standing behind her. She introduced them as the Archangels, who act as human baits for the dragons. As the American leaves, Quinn instructs Creed to keep an eye out on the Americans, and not to let their guards down. Back at the watchtower, a dragon is spotted. The alarm rings, and the men from both factions readies themselves. The Americans calmly set off. Quinn observes them as they leave. As the Archangels coordinate among themselves, the dragon appears behind them. Their helicopter picks up speed and loses the pursuer. Back at the base, we see Quinn observing the whole situation as it plays out. He asks AJ for a sitrep. AJ tells him that the 3D mapping device the Americans are using aren't yet fully deployed, leaving Alex flying blind. Realizing that the hot girl is in danger, he sets off on horseback to aid them. Quinn finds one of the Americans had crashed. He quickly finds the device and deploys it. Alex and the crew gain vision of the surroundings, just to see a dragon barging on towards their helicopter. Alex prompts one of the Archangels to deploy. The hungry dragon sees the meals, and changes its target. The Archangels manage to snare the dragon, but then it escapes moments later. One of the Archangel fell to his death, and soon another member too was eaten by the dragon. Van Zandt calls out to Quinn to become the bait, to which he accepts. Van Zandt steps out of his vehicle and mounts the harpoon gun, as Quinn rides towards him. As soon as Van Zandt sees Quinn, he fires the harpoon. It grazes Quinn and lands on the dragon. The dragon is Kia. They celebrated the success of bringing down a dragon. Sounds of cheers roared through the castle as Quinn entered, followed by the Americans later on. Van Zan reprimands them for being over-optimistic, as the death of the dragon came at the cost of 3 of his men. With teary eyes, he expresses his disgust about them and leaves. In the base, Alex informs Quinn that the dragon which they had just killed was a female. She theorizes that if they kill the male dragon, they will be able to kill off the entire race. Van Zan then tells Quinn that they are going to London to kill the male dragon, and he demands Quinn and his men to join him. Quinn refuses to aid Van Zan, fearing that it would lead the dragons back to their shelter. With Quinn refusing, Van Zan storms off. Alex then queries Quinn as to why he refuses to go to London. He reveals that it is the place her mother died. Meanwhile, outside, Van Zan gathers the men and rallies them to their mission. Quinn rushes outside and punches Van Zan in the face. The two engage in a jiu-jitsu bout, with Van Zan gaining the upper hand, beating Batman into a pulp. He rips off his shirt and beats down Batman. Quinn is outmatched by the Dragon Slayer. Alex interjects and breaks them off. Van Zan then moves out his army, heading towards London. Defeated, Quinn sits down in despair, only to be comforted by Alex. The two passionately stare at each other before Alex takes her leave. Inside the castle, Quinn treats his wounds. Jared was seen leaving. Quinn stops him, telling him not to go. Unwavered, Jared tells him that he is not his father. With this, Quinn lets him go. The army leave the shelter and make their way to London. Dark falls and the wind starts picking up, and he orders the army to stop, as he observes the surroundings, as he senses something going on. He orders Alex to find them a way. He descends from his vehicle, and realizes that there is a dragon nearby. With an explosion erupting in the distance, he orders the man to make preparations. They raise their weapons and get ready to fight off the dragon. Through the thick smog, the dragon makes its appearance. Van Zan yells as he unloads his gun on the incoming dragon, while launching himself backward into the cover of his vehicle, to shield himself from the flames. The army opens fire on the dragon. But the dragon annihilates them within seconds. Alex returns to see Van Zan as the sole survivor. Van Zan confirms that it was the male dragon that had attacked them. Realizing that it is now heading for the castle, the two make haste. Back at the castle, the dragon slowly creeps its way to the building, before unleashing devastating flames into the building. Quinn, seeing flames coming from a distance, hurries back on his horse. While inside the castle, Creed is busy evacuating everyone to safety. Quinn arrives, only to see that the castle is now infused with flames. After the dragon flies away, he makes his way in. Quinn takes this opportunity to enter the castle. He then meets up with Creed, who is carrying out a young girl, tells him that there are others inside. Wasting no time, Quinn travels deeper into the castle. There he finds Katie and Williams, and carries them to safety underground. Not satisfied, he wants to go up again to get the rest, before he is stopped by Creed, who instead offers to go in his stead. The dragon returns. While perching on the castle, it draws in a deep breath, before unleashing fumes of fiery hot breath into the castle. Creed is completely engulfed by the flames. Quinn rushes to save him, but he is too late. Then he tries to calm down the terrified children, by reciting their oath together. Later, Quinn hears a voice coming from the other side of the door. It's the Arimicans who had come back. Heading outside, Quinn finds himself in rubbles of what once stood a mighty castle. Moments later, they make their preparations, as the trio, Quinn, Van Zan and Alex, plan to hunt the male dragon down. Their plan is to attack on the magic hour, where the dragon is the weakest. The trio cruise in the helicopter along the cliffs, and soon land on a platform. They take cover behind the stairs, and peers over their shoulders, to see an abandoned town, swarming with dragons. Quinn, who is familiar with the city, suggests for them to sneak in. All of a sudden, the male dragon lets out a thundering roar, causing the other lesser dragons to scramble. With the other dragons gone, now the tides have turned, as the trio now have a number advantage, outnumbering the dragon 3-1. Van Zan asks Quinn to lead the way. They descend into the tunnels to make their way to the construction site. Before advancing further, Van Zan requests for the highly explosive arrowheads from Alex. Van Zan then briefs them about the plan, where they will deliver the kill shot using a crossbow, right before the dragon breathes fire, where it will expose its chest. Upon reaching the surface, they look for cover and discuss their plans. With the plan now laid out, they are ready to defeat their arch-nemesis. Finally, the male dragon shows up. The plan sets into action, both Quinn and Van Zan heads out. Seeing Quinn running, the dragon swoops in towards him. But, he manages to dodge the attack. After finding cover, he fumbles for the arrows, only to find that he had dropped it, while he was dodging the attack earlier. Van Zan reaches his destination, and signals Alex to run towards the base of the chimney. The dragon chases after Alex, but soon changes its target to Van Zan. Van Zan takes aim, while cussing at the dragon. The moment the dragon opens its mouth, he launches the arrow. It explodes on the dragon's face, stunning the dragon momentarily. Out of ammo, he equips his battle axe and propels himself off the chimney towards the dragon. The dragon then devours Van Zan. They run as the dragon breathes fire on them. The two run and reunite at the cover behind a building. Alex spots the arrow by the truck and informs Quinn. Quinn then takes a brief glance before sprinting towards the truck. He reaches and grabs the arrow, then immediately attempts to wind up the crossbow. The dragon soon comes after Quinn. Seeing Quinn struggling, Alex buys him some time by distracting the dragon. She managed to divert the attention away. At the same time, Quinn readies the crossbow and resumes back the beast's attention on him. As soon as the creature opens its mouth, Quinn releases the arrow. The dragon exploded. Both of them get up and see the creature now charred to its bones. Next, we see Quinn, now working on a communications tower. Alex then wonders if the peace will last. Though uncertain, Quinn tells her not to worry. The two share a laugh, and they walk off, holding each other's hands. If you like this story, subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell to get updated on more videos like this. Leave a like and comment. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.